According to the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, 1 in 3 South Africans will or do suffer from a mental illness at some point in their lifetime. This, of course, has further been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic as ongoing social isolation, job losses and the deaths of loved ones take a psychological toll on many people's well-being. Children have also not been spared as they had to adjust to new routines and disruptions to their schooling. Look at sports individuals as well, and that's something that has been quite new because usually you don't see them just giving in and saying, I can't do it due to my mental health. They rather push through, and the long-term effects are detrimental. To help us get an understanding of the mental illness and implications brought about by COVID-19 and the long-term trauma, we're going to chat to Thandeka Mgoduso, who is a clinical psychologist. So good to have you on the program. Welcome to Morning Live.
Morning, Leanne.
What has been, from your analysis, the psychological toll experienced by many South Africans during these lockdowns, and of course the job losses that have been seen everywhere, and how has that also exacerbated mental illness?
The pandemic has impacted all of us South Africans and everybody in a very profound way. The fact that there is no end in sight, the fact that there are numbers of people getting affected, impacted very negatively, and also passing on, and the sadness of the loneliness of that death, where the family may not be in touch with the person who is sick in hospital and in the process of dying. That emphasizes the alienation and the hardness of this pandemic, and that is very traumatic.
I must say, I mean, that
also,
is... Yeah, sorry, continue. We'll chat after. Please continue your answer.
Okay. Also, the uncertainty of how long this is going on for, and the fact that once you have had an episode with COVID, it doesn't say that you will not be impacted again. You may still get another bout and yet another bout. Right now with the vaccinations, yes, that gives some comfort. However, there's no guarantee. The efficacy is never 100%. So this is the ongoing anxiety, stress, and concern, deep concern about the pandemic. And that obviously impacts heavily on mental health.
You know, one of the points that you mentioned was that being alone. And I must say, I think that is having such a major toll because there's so many examples that we can give. I mean, you know, you've got in hospital, you are struggling through this alone. You're not allowed to have visitors. You literally are lying there and watching people either die and suffer around you. And there's just nobody that can be there to comfort you that is part of your inner circle, number one. Working alone. You know, people have been forced out of offices and into rooms alone in your house, or working from there in an environment where you're not used to this. If you're a social individual, you suddenly have to lose that aspect of yourself, and that's a very difficult thing. And then, of course, there are the children. And this worries me to no end because, you know, a child out of school is the long-term effects, and let's talk about that because, you know, children are my greatest worry as well. They've lost so much in terms of their childhood, running around on a school field, laughing, playing with like-minded individuals in their age category. Now they're suddenly sitting and looking at a computer in their room alone. What is this doing to children?
It's taking away, as you've just said, it's taking away their childhood. It must be a bit confusing as well because home is home. Home is not school. However, home has become school. Parents are no longer just parents. They are assisting them to a much deeper level with homework. So there is some role reversal there. And yes, they miss their friends. And that is why it is so important for parents to understand how to assist and help navigate the narrative with their children during this time, because kids do pick up the anxieties in the family, in the ecosystem. And it's important that parents assume a role that will stabilize and will give the children the confidence that everything will be okay. This is what this condition is about. This is its trajectory. And also that these are the things that may happen, and help them navigate and understand that in an age-appropriate manner. And the anxiety is such that they are concerned about their school, they are concerned about their friends, they are concerned about what is going to happen to them. Is this thing, are my parents going to die because of this condition? So it is quite a traumatic experience, and it is very, very important for us mental health workers, as well as communities around these children, because every society that is around the children, or every community around the children, is a socializing agent. It's very important that there is consistency in terms of the message. We demystify and debunk some of the myths that have arisen and the miscommunication that has arisen around COVID, and we give them correct information at all times.
Yeah. It is important, because, I mean, you know, I think some of us need to check in on our children, because you think they're doing okay. You know, I'll give a very personal story, because I think it could sort of give a bit of, you know, insight to others. I mean, when I actually just walked into my room and saw that obviously at school they were also focusing in on mental wellness for children, and they made the kids do a little bit of a spider diagram of, you know, writing the word sad and then, you know, what makes you sad. And some of the things that I saw that my little 8-year-old daughter wrote down, I didn't actually think that my poor child had to be thinking about COVID-19 makes her sad. Watching the looting on television made her sad. And obviously, having a mother who's a news anchor watching news all day, she had to watch this too, and the effect that it has on her. Dying makes her sad, because, you know, the talk of dying and losing loved ones around you. And, you know, I won't mention more of it, but the reality is this: kids absorb everything that we're feeling. You know, there's also instances where children have lost parents, that they watch their parents get sick, go to hospital, and never come home. And this is the reality of this generation that we are living in. So you talk about being very open and honest with children, but what else can we do to try and help this generation? We don't want a broken generation, and already the signs are there that they could possibly be a broken generation. They're missing so much.
We need to start building their resilience. Unfortunately, we're living through a very difficult and hard time in South Africa. And this exposes children to too much too soon. But we need to be building resilience. We need to be working with schools. We need to be working with parents. We need to be working with the children directly to help them understand what is going on in their lives and validate how they are feeling about what is going on. We need for them to understand and to learn that it is okay to feel anxious, and that there are valves, as safe spaces where, when they are feeling overwhelmed by what they are experiencing, they can talk to someone, they can share with someone, that their parents or their caregivers are able to contain them, because at every stage they need containment. We need to ensure that we are safeguarding the future of this generation, which is going through such hardships. And so we need to gear all the inputs whether it's through media, at school, in whatever other spaces, to enable the kids to understand and to see and continue having hope that their lives will still matter. Yes, they are in a state of transition because it's not the same as it has always been, and all spaces have changed because of COVID. And we equip them with the psychological resilience, with the inner resources, the strength to cope with what comes at them, and so that they grow to be full human beings.
Indeed.
And that's where the role of mental health workers come in, working with whichever communities surround those children. You've raised an important point about kids losing both parents, about many people being losing their lives in a family. And that must just take the carpet off the growing children's feet to say, am I next?
Yeah.
So it is very important to ensure that communities have got support systems. We've got to look at community development in a different way. Because the challenges that we are now facing are beyond what we have in our generation had to deal with.
Indeed.
And it's important to build the buffers. It's important to build safety nets for the children and the young adults.
You speak such truth, and I mean that is, it's something very, very important. I mean, when you've got a child coming home from school crying on their first day back, thinking they're going to get COVID and die, it's not healthy and it's not normal. So let's quickly move on in the interest of time, because there's a few more issues I need to get through with you. But let's look at signs and symptoms that obviously there's. I mean, Sakina and I were having a conversation off air, just talking about how, some people will say, no, man, this person's just lazy. They don't want to get out of bed. They're not interested in taking care of themselves. Look at them. They're just letting go. They're putting on weight. They're doing this. They're doing that. They just have. And the reality is that these could be clear signs of depression setting in. And, you may be looking at this person, judging them, but there could be a serious mental problem. And so this is my question to you. What do we look out for in children, adults alike? And obviously we know that there are organizations we can refer them to, but talk to us about those signs where we need to intervene.
You've touched on some already. Being withdrawn. Small children, you look at their behavior, any behavioral changes, regression in terms of going back to a stage of development that the kid had already successfully negotiated, being clingy, and just being a changed young person from what they have been, being withdrawn. And you can see that they are maybe changes in their sleep patterns, changes in their eating behaviors. Then that must say that something is going on there, and a different conversation needs to be had. And you've talked about neglecting the self, neglecting grooming, not wanting to eat, not wanting to socialize, staying in bed longer than is necessary, and avoiding social contact even within the family, and being weepy, being anxious, being sensitive or just quiet, shutting the world out. Those are signs of depression. And it's understandable why people would be depressed. But if it carries on for a long time, then obviously we need to intervene. The family needs to start talking with that person and seeking assistance in terms of helping that person. And also age-appropriate things, someone who has been outgoing, changing, and being withdrawn. And just being lethargic. Those are some of the signs that one sees in people who are depressed. And obviously there is the heaviness in the mood of the person. Then you know that something is not going right there. The perpetual sense of anxiety, unease, being jumpy, then you know that something is not
Something's
going
not right. Just
there.
keep a close eye and get help for that.
Keep a close eye, and maybe a preoccupation with the same subject.
Yes.
Keep going back to the same thing. Then you know that there is something unresolved there. You zoom into that.
Final question quickly, because we've literally got about 2 minutes to the end of the interview. What we're seeing happening in the sports field, and I think this is an important aspect we need to bring up, because it seems that mental health is being brought to the fore, where you look at somebody like Simone Biles, who pulled out of the Olympic Games yesterday because she just felt, I mean, all the reporters at the press conference asking her, did you hurt yourself? Is there a physical injury? Can you not do this? And eventually she's like, no, there's nothing physically wrong with me. Mentally, I can't deal with this. You know, it's been too much. There's no one sitting in the crowds. COVID has been too much. I also feel too much pressure of the world is on me. And one of the amazing things her teammate was saying was that people forget that sportsmen and women are also people. And, you know, this is something that I think has now brought mental wellness into the fore. Having high-profile individuals like Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, what does this do to the importance of people realizing, hang on, if they can do it, I can do it too?
I think that has catapulted the importance and centrality of mental health to the core. Oftentimes, as you rightfully say, it's about the physical unwellness that has been respected more. Meanwhile, there is a lot of churn that is going on inside people's psyches, and that is not supposed to be spoken about. People look askance to going to psychologists because it will be assumed that I'm mentally unwell. Meanwhile, it's about fortifying the wellness side of yourself so that you can be more effective and efficient in terms of what you are doing in life. Mental health cuts across everything. Most of the time you find that people go to doctors' rooms not because there is a real reason medically, but because there is a psychological unwellness that they are feeling, they cannot put into words, and they know that the language that is well understood is that of medical ill health, not the mental unwellness. And again, when we talk about mental health, it's not about being unwell. There is also just building the resilience to cope with life, because life can be difficult. We go through hardships in life.
Indeed.
So
and
we need to build the resilience. We need to live effectively and to enhance the gift of life that we've been given.
We have to leave it there. Thank you so much for talking to us. It's been a pleasure speaking to you here on the program. Thandeka Mgoduso, who is a clinical psychologist, talking to us about the psychological impact of COVID and the times we're living in. And also just, we spend all this time online, Sakina, and this is a big problem. We read so much, and that also causes all kinds of problems. And what our children are subjected to online, somebody also highlighting that to me, that in itself can be a big problem. Who knows what they're looking at? That's a problem.
I'll tell you what, I'm just grateful that we had the opportunity to hone in on this side of the pandemic, because I think it's something that perhaps needs a lot more focus than we've given it to date.
The long-term effects of it all. Have a good day. We're back with you again tomorrow at 6. Thanks, everyone. No. Oh, they cut. Oh, we're gone on SABC 2.
Sorry,
so let's stay. We're going straight into the news bulletin. Apologies to SABC 2. All right, let's get into our news bulletin.